Hey guys, hope you guys are doing okay. Back again with the yearly summary of all the books that I looked at in the last year. This doesn't always just include the books. This also includes other things that are going on in my life, and it can include other practices, other areas I've worked in. It could also include other media, like medias. Yeah, like for instance, anime or manga as well. And this one is basically me doing off the top of my head now. So maybe next year will be slightly different. But I think in a certain sense, this is a good chance for me to just look back and, at least right now, see what is influencing me as I exist right now from the last year, rather than being able to provide really detailed analyses of each thing. Because at the end of the day, this is less about the contents of the things that I've read and more about the ways that it shaped me. So yeah, let's go. The first book that I have to talk about that's had an impact on me, like that's pretty dramatic, is Jason Wilson's Battlecry. Now, probably at the end of last year, at the end of 2020, no, at the end of 2021, I primarily, I was just scrolling on YouTube and I came across a video of a kid doing karate and breaking a block, and it was incredibly emotional to me. There was something about it that just had an effect on me. So I decided to, I watched more and more of the videos, found out more and more about the dude, and then I found out he had a book that was coming out, so I decided to read it. And it's an amazing book. It essentially goes through all the ways that, now I'm writing my dissertation on masculinity, it indicates, I think personally, how perhaps completely or almost completely perfectly encapsulates what the masculine should be about, in my opinion. So it's something I definitely want to return back to. And actually at the end of this video it will kind of go full circle in a way. One of the highest things I took from this was the idea of like the soul. And it was aligning your mind, your body and your soul together, and how there's a distinction between the body and the mind and the soul, and the mind and soul are separate things, or the spirit. And it's similar lines to particularly what I was reading at the time with the Tao Te Ching, which is the second book. Let's see. The Tao Te Ching is a book that is about renunciating your desire, but for the sake of the desire. That is a paradox in itself. And it's one of the reasons why I find this such a mystical and amazing work, because I can't make sense of it, and yet it makes sense. I don't know how it works, and yet it works incredibly well. This is particularly Stephen Mitchell's version, his translation. He says in the start that, what is it? If I haven't always translated Lao Tzu's words, my intention has always been to translate his mind. I think in other versions it says heart. I'm not sure. But that's the second book. But these two, when I was reading them together last year, they primarily taught me about how it was a certain way of not renunciating, but kind of quietening your desires. I think a good way maybe to think about it is to think of your desires as though they're children, and that a good parent listens to their children, but also knows what's best for them. They doesn't let their children run rampant, but doesn't prevent their children from going for what they want. A good parent helps construct and helps the children understand what they feel, and helps the children get what they want in a way that's healthy and that encompasses all the thoughts. It delivers a holistic experience and helps the child remember that, like, the desire that the child's feeling at that moment can be understood and can be worked through and can be, just simply can be understood. So there's particularly like two good books that do a treatment of desire. So, in my last video I spoke about these, but I don't think I did, I hadn't had a year kind of dedicated to going over them. Another thing, after that video, I got a job because I needed the money. I worked as a person who worked for a company who then worked for milkman services. So I would go door to door knocking on people's doors to ask about if they wanted any milk delivered to their houses. And one of the books that I got while I was doing that was Thich Nhat Hanh's The Art of Communicating. And I think that I knew him because Coach Corey Wayne always says, love in such a way as the other person feels free. And that's exactly what Lao Tzu's book is all about. It's all about moving in a way that's like, what if you're okay with, what if you act in such a way as that if you go with what you truly feel deep down and someone leaves, that's okay? What if you act from such a place that if someone leaves, that's fine? And putting a position where someone leaves and accepting that could be the consideration is such a key thing in my thoughts now, because I know I've now got back into the habit of thinking, oh well, but if I say this thing, or if I do this thing, or if I communicate this thing, then this person's going to leave, but or this person isn't going to like me, or this person isn't going to decide to hang out with me on this day, and that puts you under a lot of stress. But particularly thoughts like that, like thinking, okay, well, if worst comes to worst comes, it's okay, and it's the best thing. That's particularly what I've learned from Lao Tzu's work. Another thing actually recently is his understanding of authority, because authority often seems like it's power over you, but authority in the way that Lao Tzu speaks of it is power for you. The best person, the best ruler is someone who rules in such a way as he allows you to do whatever you want, and in fact helps you get whatever you want. It's that same thing about a child, like a parent and child. The ruler, which is I guess the parent, acts in such a way as to help you as the child get what you want. The best authority is just a coordinator. They're in service of you to help you get where you want to go in life. And that's also really influenced my political leanings as well. I'm less concerned with just generalizing authority as a bad thing, and more seeing it as a thing that's actually, at the end of the day, it's needed. But it's obviously a question of where that authority comes from and what that authority is based off of. But it's made me definitely think a lot more about, like I went to a Marxist conference this year, 2023 I believe, 2022 rather, and in that I went to the previous one, but this one I was thinking to myself, like all these people here, could any of them rule? could any of them be leaders? And I know the whole point is that, like, left-wing politics is that no one is meant to rule over anyone else. We're meant to create a higher society where people ultimately can flourish and do their own thing, and that's completely right. But again, I'm not using rule in this authority sense for oppressing others. I mean in the sense of providing for others, of helping coordinate others into the areas that they want to go. Yeah, so my thoughts on politics and personality have been altered a bit, particularly on authority. But yeah, I particularly took this up because Corey spoke about it, and because also and because I had watched a couple of I'd listened to a couple of audios of it on YouTube, and it's an amazing book, such a good book. This has helped me think that a standard for assessing life in general is how you deal with suffering. It's made me realise that suffering is entirely an internal thing, and something you can deal with yourself. It was similar to the Epictetus works, where I realised that actually so much was under my control, so much of my own emotions and maturity were in my control. And yeah, a way that you can judge others, not that you should judge others, but another way that you can see others is to see how they deal with suffering. Do they put the blame on other people? Do they put the blame on themselves? Do they understand their pain? And do they work through it, helping themselves? Do they treat themselves like their best friend, or do they treat themselves as the worst friend and everything's their fault? Low battery, less than 20%. So, I still haven't finished it, but reading that was a complete dimension shift. Complete dimension shift. It made me think so much differently about suffering. And particularly, I bought, I don't think I have it, but I bought the little mini books, the small ones, and I bought the How to Love one by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know if I'm saying it right. He died really recently, which is really sad. Well, last year or so. But yeah, I'd bring that around, and when I'd be walking around and stuff, I'd sometimes read that on the way there. It was really nice working as a milk salesman as well. It was good fun. I don't think there's really much that I can take out of it at the moment, apart from occasionally I think of the different types of people that I would advertise to, in a way. I would advertise to. And just looking at the different types of walks of life, the different areas that people live in, the different circumstances people live under, the different attitudes people would have towards the service. Now thinking about it, I was just a complete stranger going up to people trying to get them to buy something. There was so much of the language that I used, so much of the ways that I came across, so much of the kind of character and personality that I gave to it. It really shows you that 5% of our language is spoken, and another 5% is written. 90% of all the language you ever speak is how you act, how you talk. Yeah. And then obviously inside the 5% there's the words you use. PC's running low. What's going on with the world, honestly? Crazy times. So yeah. That was really interesting. But I haven't taken too much away from it, just different walks of life. And it's a nice little thing I tell people, I was a milk salesman. So then I kept on with stuff, and I found, as I was reading through Corey's book again, 3% Man, I read through, and I found that I think he touches on the 5 love languages, or he does in one of his really old newsletter videos. But this book is actually really, really good, because it essentially points out that, as he says, towards the end of it, well, I can't find it now, but he essentially says towards the end of it, like, he takes a passage from the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus is making a larger point. He's saying something like, oh, well, you know, like, he's saying you should love everyone because, like, if you just love the people, like, you should love everyone because, like, if you just love the people you naturally love, then you're not really doing anything. Like, you should love everyone. In order to actually be a Christian, you can't just love the people you like and then just despise other people. You've got to love everyone. Everyone. Fucking Christians, you've got a lot to live up to there. And he particularly, but he rephrases this because Jesus says something along the lines of, like, even sinners love the people who love them, or something. But he takes that and is like, well, yeah, like, okay, so if you love people that are even sinners, they will love you. Even bad people will like you, and they will want to do good things for you. Which, this is me taking it in a kind of manipulative way, which is basically, oh, if you do good things to people, people are going to be nice to you. And then thinking, okay, well, I'll do good things and then people are nice to me. Now, obviously, that's taking it in a bad way, but not in a bad, well, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. Maybe see it as manipulative. Maybe it is. I think it's probably something that I guess I need to work through, and I think at the end of the day, it'd be nice to be able to ground my kindness and not what I get from other people, but just have it just an overpouring for myself, which I think is an aspect I definitely want to cultivate. But yeah, like, this book, the way I read it, was literally, people are going to like you if you do things that are nice to them, and they're going to do nice things to you. People are going to respond nicely, and they're going to love you more if you do certain things that make them feel valued and appreciated. And then it draws on 5 areas where you can do that. It literally gives you ideas on how you can output ways of making people feel appreciated and loved, and that's great. It's a book that's similar to, like, the idea of how to love, in a sense, in that way. So yeah, no, that's had an effect on me. It hasn't really had too much of an effect on me, to be honest. I've kind of forgotten most of it, but it is a book that I wanted to return to, and it's a book that I want to cultivate. Obviously, I want to cultivate these ideas. But yeah, no, it's a book that's been part of my life, and it's one that I want to advertise in this sense because it's important, and it does show you, you know, if you love other people, if you're nice to other people, then people are going to be nice back. And this gives you 5 different ways that can be done. So that's a really great book. Outside of books and stuff, I started to watch more and more of Hamza. As you probably already know, like, I do most of these videos somewhat. Well, I particularly do the week series, particularly because I have been inspired by Hamza. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, he's just a great inspiration. And I started to take things more seriously, like a little bit of exercising, a little bit of doing all these things and seeing them really as valuable. I also that was towards the end of last year, the end of the last academic year, and I then left uni, obviously, for the summer. And during this time, I was far more into Hamza. I got another job. I went on holiday, and I started going to the gym. So, when I started actually reading some, like, manga. So these things had really big effect on me. In my last video, I spoke about how in my last video, I spoke about, towards the end, I spoke about some of the challenges that I had, which was, you know, when I returned home, last time was so depressing. But this time I had in my mind, and I was thinking to myself, well, well, fuck, let's get on the grind. Let's have this summer of improving ourselves. And I took that up. So I got a job. I worked in a cafe, and I realized how great I felt being able to, it was working in a cafe gave me an excuse to be charming to people. And I loved that. And it's something that I haven't done yet, but it's something that I want to return to, because I loved being able to be charming to others. And it was so great being able to do that. I also got into the gym, and I realised the value of feeling big and feeling strong and going and doing these things and being able to work towards something. Progress is fucking amazing. It's such a great thing to feel. And most of all, I started reading, I read through Vagabond, not through it, but through the first published book of it. That was amazing, thinking about the whole idea of being reborn and stuff in that chapter, in that whole section, before he becomes Miyamoto Musashi. That was so great. I loved that. And I guess it's just left a lasting impression on me, the idea of being able to reset, be able to become a new person. I haven't really taken up any other idea, but just having that imagery in my mind occasionally. It doesn't really often come back to me, but yeah, it's important. It's influenced me in some way, probably. One of the most significant things that happened to me was within the space of a week, went from thinking I'd just get a job and I'd just work the summer, to being on a train on the way to an airplane, and then going from an airplane flying into Bulgaria and spending a day with one of my mates. That was just spontaneously, and then going from there and travelling into Edirne in Turkey, and then travelling with my mates in Turkey down to Istanbul, and spending some time in Istanbul, a week, and then meeting some people there, and then travelling back, and then staying in Plovdiv in Bulgaria for 2 days, and then going from Bulgaria to going from Plovdiv to Sofia, and then from Sofia back home. That was so scary when I first did it, but I had a lot of experiences that I loved. One of the most notable ones was that I developed a crush for someone that worked in the thingamajig. She worked in the hostel. She was from Iran, and though we didn't actually go on any dates or anything, she was very beautiful. But on the last night, I went down and just spent some just wanted to see her, I guess. I think I just wanted to tell her it was nice to meet her. But yeah, and then she said, "Oh, we've got a terrace upstairs, if you'd like to go and see it." And it was nice to be able to read, Coach Corey Wayne, and to be able to notice all these signals, and to have a different mindset to all of this, where it was just one of appreciation. And so I went up to the terrace, and she brought some apple tea. That was lovely. I also had the most amazing massage I've ever had, that I literally felt like I'd had a spiritual orgasm, or basically an orgasm, but without feeling obviously anything on my junk. I literally felt like my whole body was like just like I had. And I remember having the most amazing tea after that and just feeling fucking like stoned just because I was there. That was a different occasion, but yeah, I went up to this balcony and just looked over like a little bit of Istanbul, and she brought up some apple tea, which was very nice, and we spoke and just chatted, and I asked her about Istanbul and what she wants to do with the future, and we spoke a little bit about perennialism, which is interesting. She believed that there was someone in the US who was like a news perennialist guru or something. That was really interesting. But yeah, it was fascinating to know that someone could like, I guess someone who was that pretty and who was on a completely different area of the world, despite our language barriers, could still find me interesting and could still like have like a magical like moment with. It was also lovely being able to look at the mosques, and it was so beautiful. I remember going to one of the palaces and just thinking about the structures of how everything was and how they had like they were so committed to like different types of teas and organising the ritual of the teas effectively. It's funny to think that people put so much detail and effort, and I guess in a way that's sort of the way that art can be used as a classist thing, because it was more and more ways to show how sophisticated and how knowledgeable you were over very particular rituals of tea pouring and particular types of tea and the the valuableness of the resources used in the tea. It was really funny to see, but really almost like aspiring as well in a way. Yeah. I think about it every now and then, but there was also another time when I exchanged just a look. I was on the underground of the Istanbul bit, and it was like something out of like a film where this woman, like really pretty and stuff, the train was going along, and then she was there, and we just caught eyes, and I don't know, we got off, and then she asked me a question, and I obviously I completely flapped it because we were going somewhere I didn't know anything. Like I was worrying, but like I don't know, that was funny as well. Like a really pretty girl, and me. How I look in it. It could have meant nothing, but I don't know. It felt like something. It felt like a, like in Hotel Transylvania when people have like a zing. It felt like that, which is pretty sweet. It's pretty cute. Yeah, it's fun to think about those things. I don't know why. I guess just because it was just such a bodily experience that went well. I didn't flop it. I didn't look away. I felt completely just present in that way. So anyway, 2 nice experiences with people, and then and with all of this, like I haven't even appreciated that I hadn't really even appreciated that I could spend time with one of my friends, Joseph, and also another guy called Tamir. We all went for fucking amazing Iskandars. Oh my fucking god, it was so good. Oh, and an Iskandar. Sorry, Turkish people, if I said that wrong. So nice, fucking nice. Oh my god. But yeah, we had nice times out and stuff. I was a little bit in the mood sometimes here and there. Could work on that. What else? Happened? Oh yeah, and then hung out with people, saw different villages, saw kind of the poverty people lived in. that was interesting. Yeah, no, it's just nice being able to be like, shit, like I'm here, like I'm in these places, I'm here, like it just feels like movies. And just that total like easiness of freedom. It's like, my fucking god, like I could literally get a job, I could work up. My whole trip, 10 days away out, cost me £450 max. That's like buying everything that I needed to take. That's like getting insurance. That's buying the flights. That's transport. That's food. £450 for 10 days out. Like, that's nothing. That just level of freedom is bewildering for me. That's insane. That's so cool. And so, one of the other particular big moments for me was when I when left my friends and we went and I stayed in Plovdiv and stayed there for like 2 days. I was completely on my own. I at the time I didn't have any. I don't think I even had Wi-Fi or anything, what they call phone data. I was completely on my own. I had no idea where I was going. Didn't know anything. And then I just had this one moment where I was struck. Where I was like I found my hostel. Decided to chat to some of the people there. There was a girl who'd just finished like philosophy, which was pretty funny. Yeah, and like all this different stuff. But I just had this like moment where we were all sitting down. We were all like sitting here, and I was making all of them laugh. That was so amazing to think. Like, I was just making all these strangers laugh, and I just sat to myself and I was like, holy shit, like, I think like a lot of these people are like pretty respectable. Like, they all seem like, they all seem like pretty cool people. I'm here, like, I've been anxious about going out and like going and meeting new people and seeing things, and God, even just thinking about this now, I'm like, why am I scared about these things? I'm still scared sometimes to go out and do stuff. And I was thinking to myself, like, I've never done anything like this before. I've never gone anywhere outside the UK on my own. I've never. The furthest I've travelled before was to Wales. Well, yeah, one that's not outside the UK, is it? But yeah, I travelled to Wales for like 2 days before this. There was I don't know if maybe I touched on that, but last year, yeah, I also went to Wales. Maybe I said that in the last episode, but yeah, I went to Wales on my own. Again, that was another experience. That was an experience where that I went out to a bar on my own, and like there was a girl who's typically my type, and she was talking to me. She was like moving her body on me, like. I could have actually probably done something that night, maybe. But yeah, I was like in a completely different place. I didn't know anyone there, but it was just had the attitude of like, well, just hanging out, having fun, seeing what I can do with my life. And people love that. I had a great time, yeah, in Cardiff, in Wales. Yeah, one of my particular favourite things was I put in my headphones and I just walked around like the city. I did a lap because I was waiting to get ready, and I had an hour until I had to probably get ready, so I just decided to do like a big lap around my accommodation, and I just listened to music. I probably listened to like Boards of Canada and just put my phone on shuffle. I don't know if I spoke about that, but that was another case where travelling really opened me up to seeing new things, being around new people, but most of all, seeing what I was capable of myself. I cannot stress how important that is, being able to see that I could go and do these things, and like I could do those. I was capable. I was competent enough. That's something that when I'm thinking about it now, fucking can't stress enough. That was such an influential thing on my life. So yeah, spent some time in Plovdiv, when I climbed up each like the peaks in the area, got some cool like shirts and stuff. Yeah, and that was my experience, just outside of reading or anything. Two of the things I didn't touch upon just then as well were that last year I was with some of my mates, such as Joseph and another guy called Michael, and they were watching through Naruto. They'd been watching through it since the previous year, and I every now and then I'd join in and like watch some videos, watch some episodes with them. And at first I thought it was like a bit cringe, but then I started to really like it, and so I decided to actually start watching it. One of the things, so basically at the start of like January, pardon me, or maybe even later, I don't know, but I just watched Naruto. I probably watched like 10 episodes a day. I didn't watch any of the filler apart from the Kakashi stuff, when he was in the Ombu. I watched like 10 episodes a day. But particularly when I was doing my final like essays and stuff of that year, after every single one of them, I bought a can of San Miguel, and it was like maybe even like a litre, maybe not a litre can, I don't know, maybe like 700 milliliter or something. And at the end of every single essay, I cracked open one and had it. That was so nice. And I'd just sit there. I bought like I got like a TV for £12. That was probably as big as like, I don't know, maybe that big. Yeah, probably that. I mean, that doesn't really tell you much of a measurement, but pretty big. So much so that I could sit on my bed, sit here, except in the other accommodation, and then there's my old video. I was just rewatching it, but yeah, like it filled up. It was literally from here to here, and like from there to there. Yeah, it was, and I'd just sit there and I'd just watch the episode and just have a can of beer to celebrate, get through the essays. Then that was such a nice time. I loved that. So I'd watch Naruto, and Naruto was one of the things that, I don't know if it's lasted, but it's transformed. It unleashed a little bit of another masculine side to me that's maybe unhealthy, but I need it. Naruto taught me that I could get angry at myself. Rather than getting upset at myself, I could get angry. When I was doing the milk salesman thing, I was watching some of these episodes of Naruto, and I was thinking like, oh no, he's getting so angry, and like, but he channeled that anger, and he never gave up. He was always wanting to be Hokage, and I completely jived with that. To be Hokage is to be respected by everyone. It's to be the leader of a village. It's to be able to look after people. I want to fucking do that. I want to be Hokage. I want to be Hokage. Someday I'm going to be Hokage. It's to be respected by everyone. It's what I want, ultimately, deep down. It's one of the things I over the summer when I was sort of dealing with a pseudo breakup in a sense. It's one of the things I just kept on returning back to. Like, ultimately, I want to improve my life because I want to become that person that's well respected. I want to become a person that has respect. I want to become someone who anytime any person of any era could look at and just respect them because of how they live their lives. And it's still something I wanted to this day. I think it's one of my deepest desires to have, really. And when I was doing milk salesmen, whereas before sometimes I'd get a knock and then it wouldn't go well, and then like I wouldn't get the sale or something. A couple of times I caught myself where I was like, oh, okay, like, and I'd be thinking to myself, I'd I'd clench my fists. I'd be going, right, no, I'm gonna get this next one. I'm gonna do it. Like having that self-confidence that Naruto has. Like that was funny. It's good. It's good. It's good to be able to have that self-confidence and develop that. I fucking love that. I really respect that in Naruto. I think also quite a few people can be seen as good role models in Naruto as well. And not just the wacky kookiness, silliness of it all. Yeah, that was lovely. Another book that I was reading along this time was Nathaniel Branden's The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem. No, I wasn't actually reading this. Oh, and there goes another less than 10% of battery remaining. Well, I wasn't reading this, but I was listening to the audiobook. The audiobook on YouTube that you can listen to for free, it doesn't have, like, there's basically half the amount of information that this has. So it was a bit weird, because, like, it would jump over bits, and I'd be reading, I'd be going, right, wait, where's this? And because I tried to read it alongside, like, I tried to listen while reading. I gave up eventually, and I just listened to the audiobook, but this is a book that I really wanted to return back to. I used to watch Charisma on Command, if you know that YouTube channel. It used to be heavily inspired by them. But one of the particular things that I then saw in an interview that Charlie from it did with Chris Williamson was that he said that this was such a huge influence on him. That was crazy, because I'd heard about it and I'd been reading it, like, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, a couple of months later, I found out that he'd also been inspired by it. Yeah, it's a really great book. As Charlie from Charisma on Command puts it, The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem is a book about self-reputation. And this is a book that talks about how, in 6 different ways, well, it says that those are the 6 pillars of your self-esteem, but you can think about it as like they're the actions that you need to do in order to have a good self-reputation, good self-esteem. So now I think about it again, like, that's another book I actually really should go back to, because I really do need to level up my self-esteem and my self-confidence, self-perception. Yeah, it's all about the self-reputation. What do you think about when you think about yourself? Do you think of someone who's lazy? Do you think of someone who can't stick to their own words? Do you think of someone who lies, who doesn't go for what he really wants, who falls back and doesn't say what he really thinks? Or do you think of someone who does what he wants, who goes for what he wants and strives for what he wants, works hard, is a good person? This is a book that's entirely dedicated to how you can improve your self-esteem, how you can improve your self-reputation. And it's a book that I need to return to. But that was very influential as well. Really enjoyed that book. Well, listening to the book. So now we then move on into, over the summer, start going to the gym more, start exercising, start fucking feeling good. Start having actually more energy in me as well. I realised that actually going to the gym gives me more energy. The days where I don't go to the gym give me less energy. And so yeah, I basically just spent the rest of the summer working, then going and getting some food after I go into the gym. So get up, work until about 3 or 4, like at my cafe job, which was that was another thing. Like, it feels so good to be charismatic and be like a gentleman and like a waiter. I love being able to provide people the experience of having friendliness and professionalism and welcomeness. I love being able to provide people that, and having a job there, it gave me that excuse to be able to be that person. So that's something I definitely need to think about. But I get up, go to work, and then I in between, and then once I finish work, I then cycle up to my gym, and along the way I'd, do some journaling. I would maybe visit some little cafe, or get a Subway from somewhere, or go and get some protein shakes from Aldi or something on the way there that I could drink on the way back. I didn't really take what I was eating as seriously. I didn't really stick to calorie intake, like a, you know, surplus. Didn't do any of that. I just thought, oh, well, I'll just have some protein and I'll just, you know, have this. 2 protein shakes will be enough. So yeah, like I didn't really take it as seriously, and I didn't make as much gains as I had done at the end of last year when I came to uni. But yeah, that was nice. That was cool. Yeah, it was just a nice time. Just kept on improving myself. And that was it, really. I think maybe I went on holiday with my dad and sister. I don't know. Yeah. So that was the summer, and everything I had spoken about before was the whatever. But I then came back to uni, and very quickly I met someone who's very much transformed my life. Before, actually, I read Berserk, and Berserk is incredible. I spent a lot of time reading Berserk. Got addicted to it, and I'd never really understood it, to be honest. I mean, it was great. It's really cool. It's fantastic, but I didn't really understand people's points. But the reason why I made the video today as well, spontaneously, is because I kind of think I understand it more now. I also... No. I'd read Miyamoto Musashi over the summer, and about the whole idea of being reborn and stuff. That was really interesting. But and then I saw Berserk, because I'd watched the animated 1997 one, and I thought, well, I'll just read the manga, give me something to do. Truthfully, I just thought, I'll just give me something to do. And I haven't really understood it, but I think that a huge part of it is actually being able to open your heart up. It's probably one of the most... Someone like Berserk, like Guts, I think preaches the complete ideal of masculinity, but in order to be a whole person, you don't just embrace your masculinity. You need to embrace your femininity as well. You need to be able to not just deal with your emotions stoically. That's important. I mean, you know, like I've said, like, these books are incredibly important, but actually having the ability to share your problems, not overburden people, and not share your problems in the hopes that they will come and save you, but in the fact of opening your heart up and actually speaking how you feel about things, and not feeling scared that people are going to leave because of that. That's something that I've hugely, like, literally just even like tonight, I've just kind of realised that the biggest struggles in Berserk are not how hard he can hit his sword or how many enemies he can kill, but it's how much Guts can open up and let other people into his heart and into his life and listen to his problems. So it's the next day, and funnily enough as well, in my last video I was wearing this, so I thought it'd be good if I just wore it as well. So yeah, over the summer I read Berserk, I went to the gym a lot, I went and saw like some friends in Nottingham as well, and I think looking back at this like year, I'll say it at the end, won't I? Better do it that way, right? So yeah, this year last year rather, and then I came back to uni, and I realised that I'd spent a lot of time actually, you know, improving myself and getting myself good and confident, feeling happy about stuff, and it really worked. I remember, like, I remember people treating me with respect, and people treated me with respect. I kind of felt popular in a way. Like, it's quite strange. I think yeah, and I met like a lovely lady who's probably going to be in my life for the rest of it. I think that we're at different stages in our lives, and we're both wanting different things at the moment. So, and well, at the end of university, I'm going to be going back home, and she's going to be going off somewhere else. So, we won't see each other as often, and we'll probably walk down different walks of life. But she's someone who I always want to keep in my life. She's someone who I feel is just me, but a woman, in a way. Not to sound like narcissistic, but if you understand what I mean. I think that this, like, last year, in reflection now, it really points to me how, like, I can be, in truth, I can be desired by people who I think are very impressive. I can be valued by other people. Yeah, and it's surprising. And in reflection, I'm now thinking, why do I worry so much? So anywho, spending time with the girl who I've been with has taken up a lot of my time. It stopped me from progressing, and I feel like in some areas I probably maybe definitely stagnated, if not even potentially regressed. And that's just simply down to me not being able to work out things, and not giving myself the time to improve. But I think that, and this leads into one of the final things that I'll touch on really here, is that I also read, I didn't read, I watched Vinland Saga. And that's probably single-handedly one of my most probably favourite animes ever. I always watched Mob Psycho, I enjoyed it. And you can see everything that I've watched and seen from last year and this year on my Instagram account. That's where I post quotes of books that I've read, and there's more stuff that I haven't talked about here that I enjoyed and that were interesting, but maybe not significant enough to talk here about. But something that was very heavily influential to me was Vinland Saga, and this current season 2 that's going on as well. It's almost like this lowering of your ambition. Well, not lowering of your ambition, but humbling of yourself. And I think that's what can probably characterize me right now. I think perhaps I need to humble myself. I need to spend more time being bored and not overstimulating myself and sitting and meditating and reflecting. I haven't done any meditation for God knows how long. It took me from the 31st of October, basically November, December, January, February. It took me 3 months to finish a book that's 160 pages long. It's taken me from the 10th of February to the 3rd of April, so sort of like February, March, April. Well, maybe 2 and a bit months, or maybe 2 months or something. Or, I don't know, like a month and a half to finish something that is like 120 pages basically. You know? At one point, I got to a point last year where I was writing 120 pages in 12 days. Not like 1.5 months or something. Not 3 times that. And that was when I've been actually improving in my writing. You know, admittedly, I've spent a lot of time not pursuing my own self-improvement because I've had to dedicate a lot more time to other people. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to in the summer. This summer that's coming up, my dissertation will be due in 4 days. So once that's out of the way, I'm going to be spending the last couple of, this last month and a bit in Oxford, just trying to hang out, just have as much fun with everyone around here as I can. And then it'll be back home and the rest of my life will start. So I'm thinking I want to go into game development. I want to go back to work in the cafe. I definitely should work back in the cafe because that gave me so much confidence and liveliness. I want to dedicate far more time to my own self-development, and I want to dedicate more time to doing creative endeavours and being able to discipline myself and be able to choose what's important and follow that. And I want to do something with my life. Not in any big way, not in any grandiose way where I think that I have to change the world, or I have to deliver something that's transcendental. But I want to do something as well. Don't just do nothing. I think in reflection, I've already spoken about this in this video, but I think that I need to kind of humble myself. I need to be able to just chill out a bit more. Not worry so much. Not in any sense of turning to being lazy and not doing things. Not in the sense of rejecting the things I hold really deep and going, oh no, it's okay, you don't really have to follow that. But in the sense of just gaining a wider perspective. All the people that I've met, and I was thinking about this when I was in reflection from when I was talking about it, but I hadn't really considered how my friends have felt. I don't dedicate much time to thinking about how they feel about things. I don't really dedicate much time to doing nice things for them. I'm very self-centered. So I think I need to gain a perspective of something wider than myself. And that comes as no cost of a negation of me. That isn't a dismissal of my own desires. But it is gaining a larger perspective and not thinking everything revolves around me, which I very much get lost in. I think those are the kind of challenges that I need to face. Anywho, I'll make this quick because my storage is literally running out and that's why it cut out just then. But I'll see you guys next year and I'll give you more things I've been learning. Yeah, see you.